Do you know how some dinosaurs evolved into giants over millions of years? Some scientists think they may have done it by stealing food from each other. But that's not all. There are more secrets to their evolution that we're going to tell you about in this episode of My Amazing Dinosaurs. Hi, I'm your host, and you can learn so much about our amazing planet's history through fossils. This is true. In fact, just last year, in 2022, researchers were able to use fossils to piece together the evolutionary history of the Stegosaurus. They learned that instead of evolving from smaller ancestors like many other species of dinosaurs, the Stegosaurus actually evolved at the same time as its larger relatives. It got big right away. See, when the Stegosaurus was first discovered in 1877, paleontologists thought that its ancestors were probably smaller than it was. But because the fossil record doesn't always give us the whole picture, scientists came up with a few different ideas for how the Stegosaurus might have evolved over time. One hypothesis or possible answer was that the Stegosaurus gradually got bigger, starting off around the size of an ankylosaurus. Another was that its ancestors looked something like the bird like Archaeopteryx. But a third idea was that the Stegosaurus just showed up full-grown. And new research suggests that this might be what happened. By studying the growth rings in the bones of these dinosaurs, researchers figured out how fast they grew and whether or not they experienced a growth spurt during their development. And this showed them that the Stegosaurus was basically fully grown as soon as it hatched. So no gradual evolution here. Instead, this dinosaur was born huge. And if you've been watching My Amazing Dinosaurs for a while now, you've probably noticed that this isn't the only dinosaur that got big really fast. You've probably heard of gigantism before. It happens when animals grow much larger than other members of their species do. And there are lots of examples of this among dinosaurs. Just think of the supersized sauropods like Argentinosaurus, which was one of the largest land animals to ever live. Or the fearsome Tyrannosaurus rex, which was one of the biggest meat eaters that roamed the earth. Now, scientists have a theory about why so many dinosaurs developed gigantism. They think it might have had something to do with their eggs. See, inside a dinosaur egg, there's a structure called the Chorioallantoic Membrane, or CAM. This is what surrounds and protects the growing embryo, kind of like how the placenta does for mammals. The thicker the CAM, the longer the embryo will stay safe inside the egg. And the longer they're protected, the longer they have to develop. But as some dinosaurs laid larger eggs, they also had to make their cams thicker to keep the developing baby safe. And this led to even longer gestation periods. Longer you're cooking inside the egg, the bigger you're gonna be once you hatch. This also gives you more time to grow a lot of new tissue and build up enough mass to put on weight. All of these changes meant that dinosaurs could get pretty darn gigantic. But don't forget, it wasn't just their eggs that helped them become bigger. Their body shape also played a part. If you look at the shape of a sauropod like Diplodocus, you'll notice that it's very long and slender. Since they had such long necks and tails, they had a lot of room to grow. However, a shorter, stockier dino like Triceratops couldn't grow quite as big because it didn't have the space to support a longer body. Of course, the limits of gigantism still apply. So sauropods couldn't get any longer than the Earth could support them. They would literally have been too heavy to move around. Even with all of these factors working in their favor, not every dinosaur became a giant. Something else must have been at play here. Well, researchers recently uncovered evidence that some dinosaurs stole food from each other, and this may have played a role in their evolution. It might sound a little far-fetched, but hear me out. See, even though herbivorous dinosaurs were plant eaters, they weren't all eating the same plants. Hadrosaurs, also known as duck-billed dinosaurs, split up the available food sources so that they didn't compete with each other. Some chose to eat more nutritious but harder to digest foods like conifers. Others preferred the softer, easier to digest food like ferns. And this made it easier for them to thrive. Conifer-eating hadrosaurs had long, narrow snouts and robust skulls to help them crunch through tough seeds. Fern-eating hadrosaurs had shorter, wider faces, with powerful jaws for chopping up fibrous plants. Now, scientists have proposed a few reasons for why these dinosaurs split up the food. Maybe those who ate the same type of plants competed so fiercely that there wasn't enough food for everyone. Or perhaps different diets led to different evolutionary outcomes. Either way, when scientists analyzed the skull shapes and eating preferences of these dinosaurs, they noticed that the most successful species were those whose skulls fell somewhere in the middle. And they think they know why. It turns out that these medium-sized skulls were a good balance between being able to access a wide variety of plants. After all, if you have a narrow snout, you might miss out on some of the soft plants, and if you have a wide mouth, you might struggle to break down those tougher plants. And it wasn't just about the shape of their skulls either. Medium-sized heads allowed for just the right amount of muscle to be built up behind them. More muscles meant stronger jaws, but it also required more energy to keep them fueled. And not all dinosaurs were built for the same lifestyle. Some spent all of their time on the ground, while others climbed trees. Some lived in cold climates and others lived in the heat. This means that the medium-sized dinosaurs were likely able to adapt to a wider range of environments too. And that's important because it shows that stealing food may have played a role in natural selection. It's possible that medium-sized dinosaurs were better at stealing food than both small and large dinosaurs were. Small dinos might have been too cute to be targeted by thieves, so they didn't evolve to be better at snatching grub. At the same time, big dinosaurs might have been so bulky that they couldn't easily swipe food from others, so they didn't evolve to be medium-sized. Therefore, medium-sized dinosaurs had more success stealing food than others did, meaning they were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. Over millions of years, this could have caused the average size of a species to inch towards that sweet spot. So maybe size isn't everything. Some dinosaurs needed to be medium-sized to be the best food thieves, and that gave them the survival advantage they needed to become the giants of the Jurassic. Now, if you want to know more about how dinosaurs went from tiny ancestors to enormous descendants, then check out this episode where we take a deep dive into the world of sauropods, the longest-necked dinosaurs that ever lived. And don't forget to subscribe for new episodes every week. See you next time.